no becomes difficult when it's not clear what I'm trying to achieve. So I guess the other way to look at this is what makes yes easy. And so things like constraints. If someone asks me to do something, but I'm booked doing something else at the same time, then it's easy to say no to that request because of another constraint. Likewise, if I'm clear on what I'm trying to achieve, particularly if you take an office setting, for example, and someone asks me to help them on something that is going to distract me from what I need to do, then it becomes easier to say, as I said, easier, not easy, but easier to say no in that setting. I think it gets muddy for me when I'm not sure and I don't really understand the advantages of helping this person. And then it can be a question of relationship and a lot of other factors coming into play that make it more difficult to find the clarity I'm looking for.
I can tell you from my own experience, due to the fact that I really face this. It's maybe I don't want to appear like a sign of weakness if I say no. Maybe I don't want to let people down if I say no. Maybe I want to increase my self-esteem if I say that. So there are different reasons why people would say no, and being in difficulty for saying this simple word no. Yeah. I just want to look that I'm able to do whatever is necessary to do, just to, I don't know, to maybe to perform better. At least it could be in my mind, to have another job, to be promoted, to show people that I can do whatever is needed, and I'm that person who is saying yes anytime, even though I might fail. Yeah, I might fail with some projects and respecting deadlines and so on.
Well, this is a very good question. I think, first of all, it's our own perception regarding ourselves and our image, and it's about how we will be perceived by the other people, since there is a natural tendency not to hurt other people's feelings. So sometimes I think we are just trying to please people around, and this makes us giving in without paying enough attention to evaluating our own needs and priorities, to say so.
Okay. From my opinion, we don't want to say no because we don't want to disappoint. We feel like we are somehow disappointing the person we are saying no to. And also, we don't want to look like a bad person or something. We always want to be good, even if when we are bad. I don't know if it makes sense, but maybe as a general response, it's what I think for now. Maybe if you give me an example, I will change my mind.
Terrible. I feel terrible. The moment it happens, I think I'm doing it for the right reasons, and then after I've done it, I regret it. And there have been times where I've stopped myself from offering an excuse. And although it can feel tougher in the moment of delivering the no, I feel stronger for it afterwards. And I don't feel bad about it at all. I wonder if too, like in the long term, so perhaps I'm just trying to recall instances where I've experienced this, where I've said a direct no to the person without providing a weak excuse why. And in that moment, it might have upset them. But I think over the course of the relationship, I've then kind of reset an expectation with them on how I'm going to react in certain situations, and it becomes easier over time.
It happened to me in the past. I didn't feel comfortable. Yeah. Even when I heard this request from that person, I realized that if I will say no, I will not follow my principles, my values, and that made me feel a little bit not comfortable with myself, and somehow I couldn't see myself in good eyes, let's say. It was something like, in my mind was that I will not be trustful if I lie. I will not be, it will not be me. Yeah, so I have to be me to follow whatever I think, and I know that is correct. If it is a real reason, then say it. If not, then don't say it. It's better not to do it.
We feel the need to justify ourselves because assertiveness is not a natural thing. It's something that we teach and educate ourselves to do, because naturally, on a scale, we are either approval people, like we tend to give in, or we are the type of people that reject instantly, I don't know, new ideas or requests. So assertiveness is this trait where you learn how to take care of your own needs, but also not to offend the person that requested stuff from you. So I would say that assertiveness not being something natural, we feel the need to justify ourselves more. But actually, we could be assertive without offering too many explanations. There are some tips and tricks regarding how one could do this, depending on the situation, if it is personal or if it is professional. But we don't have to be too harsh with ourselves, because it's a natural tendency to do this, because it makes us feel better about ourselves when we give some good motives. This is what we say to ourselves when we do this. If we decide to do this, we are not being true to ourselves. So it's like not respecting your own code of ethics, meaning we are valuable enough to say no without lying and without feeling the need to bring something, a strong reason, you know? Sometimes it's enough to say thank you, but it's not a good time for me. Thank you, but I'm not interested at this time, maybe another time. So I would say that we feel better about ourselves in the night when we sleep, and or when we look in the mirror, if we don't lie when we say no. I think it's a type of lesson that each person should start learning, and the sooner the better, because other way we'll go to that situation where we feel overwhelmed by all these requests, by inventing excuses. And sometimes I think it just feels better and is healthier to stick with yourself, you know, and try to be accepted for what you are. And I think it's an interesting test to see, okay, after saying a couple of times no, some people decide to avoid you, then maybe it's better this way, because at least it clears a bit the air, and you see if you have a real solid base for those relationships.
I think that without this excuse, we would seem heartless or something. You know, you're feeling good with yourself by giving an excuse to someone. Look, I'm not a bad person. I just look. Well, this is the reason why I'm saying no. I would have said yes if it wasn't for that, but tough luck, something like that. But this also depends about the reason of the objection, or the reason for saying no. I think it's an art. I have one particular person in mind. It was and it is a mentor for me. So it's a woman, and when she's saying no, she does it in a very assertive way, you know. Speaking of your next question, you know, when she's saying no, you cannot be upset with her. You understand why she's saying no, even if she's not saying the reason. So it's something like she's saying no with a smile on her face, and no one feels the need to go further because she's very confident, and she's not giving the reason. not usually. I think it's an art, and I'm trying to I'm an excuse person. I always excuse myself. I will always explain myself, and I'm trying to not do that anymore.
Difficult.
Mhm.
Again, I'm trying to recall instances where this has happened. I just really think this is such a it depends question. You know, if I think about family members, then it might be a lot tougher to say no for the sake of the family relationships. Whereas other situations that have negative consequences, they might, you know, it might be, I'm just trying to think of a good example. Saying no to an opportunity that perhaps then means, you know, something great doesn't happen in the future. Could be an example of a negative consequence, but perhaps it's easier to say no in that situation because, you know, it's just, there are other choices that can happen in life. So it's easier to downplay that. Whereas again, I think with the, you know, with the close relationship, to damage that relationship through saying no, could be an issue. But I guess now that I'm saying that, it ties back into that other question of saying no without excuses and how that can be healthy.
Honestly speaking, I am that kind of person who is getting assertive with someone else. Yeah, I never give in. I'm trying to be that person who's in control of that thing, and trying to understand what's behind, and to understand also the perspective of the other person. So that's why I'm trying to find the most diplomatic answer and the perspective that could come into my mind. Just I usually follow to have the I usually want to have the result, the win-win result. Yeah, so to be both for to be fine for both sides. It happened to me to be in this situation of having the possibility to say both no and yes. However, for yes, it was not the right moment, but it was the right moment for no. So I presented to that person another perspective. I didn't say no, I said no, it's not possible in this moment, but I promised in a due time I will do my best to help you with this kind of whatever they asked, and we can start with this. Let's agree upon the steps that we have to follow, and we'll start with this, and in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, we will come to that agreement. And I expect this in return. To be honest, I do this. Yeah, and people were really feeling well, not only asking but also giving at the same time. So as I said, it's a win-win, and it was successful whenever I did this, to be honest. If the person deserved that because it's a good person, and I know that I don't know, has a lot of courage to ask for something, and it was probably really needed, that thing, yeah, I would do compromises in these situations. Why not?
It's connected to guiding yourself by your own inner compass, you know, like if you know your values, if you know your ethic principles, and also if you know your priorities, because in many situations it's all about time, not necessarily willingness. So if you decide to stick to these things, then this will make it easier for you to say no, because you know you have a strong reason behind. And also it's like a risk matrix. Sometimes we just have to evaluate the emergency of the situation and the consequences. How many people will be affected by me saying no, for example? Because sometimes the situation might be that you can actually, it's for the better interest of everyone to say yes and to make an exception. But this is like a fine balance, you know, and we are the only one to be able to actually do this. So I think it's that line between your personal interests and the better, how do you say, the common better, you know, because sometimes a bit of effort from myself, and maybe that brings some stress, some overload, but this may have a big impact in a group, in a community, in your department, or maybe in your family. And sometimes, you know, do I have a selfish interest in doing this, or do I decide to be altruistic and nourish myself from the results that I gain by doing something for others?
This is not the reason why I do it, but I always say yes. You know, you remember our first discussion. I'm not good at saying no, and when it comes to colleagues, I always say yes. I don't know. I find the time, and it's not about losing my job or something. It's about how would I feel if I were in that colleague's place. You know, maybe if the example were with someone who would ask me to do his job instead of him or her, maybe it would be different, my response, and I would try to keep it correct for everyone. You know, I know what are the consequences for this type of response, but I always do it because I try to keep a balance. Of course, I'm not doing everything everyone else is saying, but if it's a special project, or I don't know, it's a special situation, or a colleague who is in need, and I am the only person who can help in that situation. So as long as there are exceptions, I understand them, and I do all my best to help when I can.
Yeah, I think, well, I guess it depends on the different types of pressures, because there's that, again, if I think about family, then there's that, or friends, there's that pleading pressure. Oh, come on, oh, come on, come on, why not? Please, come on, which, you know, I can give into. I guess in a professional context, there could be other pressures applied about, you know, withholding things in the future, or you know, yeah, some other professional constraint that could be applied, which again then I think comes back to our earlier in our conversation about not being clear and trying to understand the mix of things in the equation, including what we just talked about, our own needs.
Yes. And honestly, I said yes. And it was a failure, to be honest. Again, to be honest, I'm very honest. It was a failure. Why? Because I didn't take into consideration all the factors, yeah? Time, other tasks, other responsibilities, other projects. So it was a failure due to the fact that I was not able to manage all the tasks, yeah? I didn't want it to reject that person. I didn't want it to hurt that person by saying no. So I said, yes, I can do whatever. But I didn't appreciate it at the right value at that moment, what I could have do. Yeah, so that was a big mistake of not taking into consideration all the factors.
Yeah,
and the impact, because the impact was not so good at that moment, to be honest. I started to negotiate. Yeah, usually when I say no, I have arguments for saying no. Yeah. So if I say no, I say, okay, I'm not able to deliver or to be involved in this kind of task due to the fact that I have a delivery timeline for this project, but I can help you with this in a week or 2 weeks or something similar. And people do accept it, this kind of negotiation, let's say. Yeah. So as long as you have arguments and they are real, things could be solved, I think. And the other part is accepting all this argumentation. But you have to be reasonable and open, clearly, and be precise. Clearly explain what's the reason for saying no.
Yes, I think it would be a lie to say, probably many times, but it depends of the pressure. For example, I have analyzed this in myself because I'm a doer, and I also consider myself a team player. And from time to time, in management meetings, for example, where me and other managers decide upon strategic decisions and initiatives. Okay, we have great ideas, but we need to implement it. And there is the silence part when, okay, in theory, ideas are good, but in practice, someone has to do the project management or to do the kickoff. And then sometimes I give in into this type of pressure. It's like in training, you know, when the trainer asks, who would like to give an example? And there is silence. And then the trainer looks around and says, but please, I encourage you, give an example. And it's scientifically proved that in the end, maybe a person that has a bit of savior syndrome, someone will offer themselves into giving that example. So now coming back to my own example, sometimes I think I am this person because I believe in an idea and a project. And since no one else wants to be the kickoff, then I take this role from time to time, at least. So I would say that for me, the peer pressure sometimes functions when I really believe in something, and I don't want to miss that great idea, project, opportunity. And if this means me putting an extra effort, I do it.
I don't have something particular in mind right now because I don't think I'm usually put in that position usually. Maybe I try to not get there or something, but I think if I think it's not a good thing for me, it would be hard to say yes. So in serious situations, I trust myself to be responsible, you know, for me and everyone around me.
I've learnt over the years to not take it personally. So that's where I'm trying to head, is if I say no to someone and it's not personal to them, then I need to apply the same rule to myself and understand that when someone says no to me, it's not personal. And I think it's better, I find it better to be in a situation in which somebody is enthusiastically yes or straight out no, because then it's clear. And I don't have to, I think the worst situation is when it's not a yes or a no, but it's just kind of, maybe I'd like to just give me some more time, and it just kind of drags out when really it should have just been a no. I think it would add to my respect for them. I think in the moment I'd be concerned about my request and how I was going to achieve what I set out to achieve. But when you frame it like this, you know, would I prefer someone to just say yes and kind of suffer for it themselves? Then no, I wouldn't. Again, going back to what we mentioned earlier about being enthusiastically yes or straight out no, and not having this awkward fuzzy middle ground. So yeah, I think if they said no, once I got over my initial, how am I going to figure this out, then I'd respect their decision.
I thought about this question for a while because as I did from the beginning, I also think about my activity, my daily activity, you know, my job, because my job is to ask people questions and to receive a lot of no's. So I tried to split them, you know. So if it's personal, and my husband, for example, because I already used that example before, if he says no, I try to understand the reason he's saying no, but I get really upset because usually if I ask him something, it's something that I think he should do or give me. So I get upset, very upset, and but I try to understand. And if it's on the job side, you know, so it depends about the words used, the excuse, you know. because if someone says no, there's a possibility to change his mind if the reason they are saying no, it's not a valid one, you know. I respect it, but I try not to look like I'm not respecting them if I feel there is a misunderstanding in the middle, you know. But sometimes I do upset people, you know, because they say you're very persisting. Stop doing that. But it's okay. I try not to do it anymore, you know. When I feel there's no more room for it, I try to stop before getting there.
I respect this as much as I want to be respected in the moment I say no. And since I know that there are situations where I can't say yes, I think it's good not to have double standards and to allow this type of answer also from the other person. Oh, I love this question because it's about mirroring the situation. Every person is also the person that asks other people to do stuff for them. And sometimes this feels very uncomfortable. But what I have learned to do is offer several options. So one approach would be me asking the other person, what else do you need from me in order to make this going, and you to say yes. So this is an open question, and I'm willing to hear the other person's limitations or better understand the reasons. Another approach is negotiation, like a push and pull model. So let's see, these are the advantages, what's in it for you, what's in it for me, what's in it for a bigger purpose. And I think a third option would be just offering some extra valuable information. Because sometimes we pop in this question, do you want to help me? A bit too early, like in a sales process, you know? Maybe sometimes the client did not understand good enough how your solution will actually solve a problem of his own. And you just pop up the closing question a bit too early. So maybe this is also valid when we ask people to say yes. So I think investing in this preparation is very important, because if we want to be successful, it's good that we already have those questions in our mind before going there. It's like doing your homework and being well prepared. And last but not least, sometimes we have to accept also a no. But this no may not be on an indefinite term, not now, but then when? So at least the least you could get is maybe set another calendar, another date, and it's important to leave room for further discussion.